Hi, this is Claire Moulton at the Honey Company. We are scraping wax so we can put it in the extractor with honey. Now we can put it in the extractor.
Oh. Hornet, shoot, hornet, shoot, hornet.
As you can see, the honey comes from the frames that have been scraped out of the caps, and it flings onto the extractor. And once it's all flinged out, the faucet down here allows us to bottle and bucket the honey.
The first step in the process of extracting honey is to uncap the frames. If you'd like to see that process, please see our video about uncapping honey.
This is the extractor, centrifuge. There's a couple of kinds of extractors, and this one's a hand crank. It will hold 4 or 5 frames, and you manually spin the honey out by turning the crank. Another type is motorized. Those are more common these days. And it has a way to release the gears with a pressure plate so the hand crank doesn't hit you in the chin. This type of extractor is a tangential type, which means the surface of the comb is roughly parallel to the basket. So we're going to have to spin one side, stop, turn the frames around, spin the other side. The other type of extractor is radial, and that'll spin the honey out of both sides of the frame at the same time. There's the power uncapper. It's got a chain, runs along here, down along. You can uncap both sides of the frames at once. Capping spinner. How many frames does that extractor hold? 60?
That big one?
Yeah, the big one.
72.
72 size.
Yeah.
So it used to be, back in the horse and buggy days, that it wasn't practical to take all of the supers off the bees, put them on the horse-drawn wagon, bring them back to the honey house and extract them. They had a lot more bees in the home yard, they would call it, and so you didn't have far to go with the frames and the boxes when it was time to extract. So if they had an out-yard someplace far away from home, then they would typically set up a little shed and extract the honey in the bee yard right there rather than bring it home. So now commercial beekeepers wouldn't do that. It's easy enough to put it on a flatbed truck and bring it back to the extracting place rather than do it. But it's possible to set up a tent or a netted canopy with a net with mosquito netting around it and extract right on location. I've done that before. So now we've completed uncapping both sides of the frame. Now we can set it in the extractor. Now repeat the process until the extractor is full.
It's kind of hard to turn at first, but once you get going, it just kind of smoothly turns.
Most extractors will come with a lid. You don't want to get your hair or your hands or your arms in the extractor while you're spinning. Depending on the temperature, it might take just a couple of minutes to extract. You might spin it for 10 minutes.
The centrifuge motion causes the honey to fling out of the comb onto the side of the extractor, and then it will run down the sides of the extractor and pool in the bottom. Once enough honey is pooled at the bottom, there's a valve down there to let the honey flow into a container. Spin the frames until honey stops coming out of the comb onto the sides of the extractor. Then let it slow down and come to a stop.
once you've extracted one side in this type of extractor, you need to flip it over. So take the frame out, turn it around, do it again. They make a extractor that'll flip them for you. You just have to hit the brake on it, and in a basket it turns around. But that's, I don't know that they make those anymore.
Spin the honey out of the second side until all the honey is out, and then you are finished and you have honey at the bottom and sticky frames.
When the honey's out of the frames, you take them out, we call them stickies. You never get all of the honey out of them, there'll still be a little bit on them. But the cells are mostly empty, and then you can return these to the bees for a refill. They'll repair all the damage that we did to the comb as we were uncapping it and fill it up with honey again.
What about in the fall, the late fall, after you extract and it's like time for winter?
Right, so if it's time for winter, so if you're not going to return them to the hive, it's the last time you've extracted, or maybe you only extract once in the fall, then put these someplace where the wax moth and the earwig and the ants and the mice and the wasps and other pests won't find them. Put them in someplace cold and someplace light. If you put them someplace dark and warm, wax moths like it where it's dark. So put it in a room that has some light coming into it, and preferably in a cold building.
Okay, we're going to see how much honey is in the bottom of the tank. You can see it shining down there in the bottom. We can put a bucket under the spigot here and open her up. Don't forget the screen. And then we open it up and then let the honey flow into this bottling tank. We've got some particles in there, and the screen will catch them so they won't be in the honey.
I like to screen the honey right out of the extractor. It saves me a step. So rather than put it into a bucket and then let it settle and then run it through a screen or a strainer later, we do it all at once, all at the same time, right out of the extractor. And if you drain the tank into another bottling bucket with a gate on it, then you can go straight from there into the final bottle, final container for you or the customer. All right, so we've taken it off the bees, then we've uncapped it, and we've put it in the extractor and spun the honey out. Now we're draining the tank. So I've got a honey gate open now, and it's a dangerous thing to leave the room when there's a honey gate open. Pay attention to your bottling. Honey floods are a bad thing. So in the process of uncapping and extracting and bottling, you're going to spill some honey. So if it gets spilled, it's good for bee food, right? We don't ever try to salvage it other than maybe feed it back to the bees. I let this drain out of the extractor overnight, and you'll have all the parts, the small particles of wax cappings on your sieve, and nice clean honey ready to bottle in your bottling bucket. Thanks for coming with us today as we uncap and extract honey. Join us in the next one for part 3, where we'll bottle honey.
If you liked this video, be sure to check out our beekeeping courses at thehoneycompany.com. We're offering 6 full-length beekeeping courses for beginning, intermediate, and advanced beekeepers. See you there!